Yo, welcome to my summer lair. I am Sammy Younan, and I'm switching up the standard program with this episode. I am on location at the Blood in the Snow Film Festival Media Day. Unfolding over 6 nights, Blood in the Snow is a showcase of contemporary Canadian horror, genre, and underground cinema. It's tons of fun. Blood in the Snow and Toronto After Dark, those are Toronto's two best film festivals. Even though we're kind of known for TIFF, the Toronto Film Festival, whatever. That's just celebrity nonsense. Let's get into the good stuff. First up is an interview with the filmmakers behind Dead Dicks. As the witty though darkly humorous title implies, Dead Dicks is a movie with a splash of horror, but like modern horror, mixed in with like your classic family drama addressing topics of dependency, identity, and mental illness. This is the first feature from the Montreal-based duo Chris Bavota and Lee Paula Springer, who I talked to about this unusual movie. I'd say more about Dead Dicks, but I'll let them do the talking. This is a cool, weird movie.
Beaming from Pacific Junction Hotel to Earth.
Hello.
You guys have Dead Dicks playing at Blood in the Snow.
Yes.
Rather than me asking you what the movie is about, let's start off the beginning, which is that Becca gets a call from her suicidal brother, Richie, and she shows up to his apartment, and what is it that she sees?
Well, first she finds his dead body after he's died by suicide. But then just seconds later, she finds him also alive and well and stark naked and eating a bowl of cereal.
And she quickly learns that throughout the night he's attempted or successfully killed himself multiple times, but also has been kind of reborn. Mm-hmm. And he's uncertain as to what's going on, as is she. And so they spend the night trying to discover exactly what this phenomenon is and why. So it's really just about like a brother and sister trying to deal with this fantastical thing that is happening, but really dealing with each other. Yeah.
So introduce yourselves and tell me, what would you do if you suddenly found out you were now immortal?
Oh my gosh. My name is Chris Bavota. I'm a co-writer, co-director, co-producer of Dead Dicks. And if I was immortal, I don't know how I'd react. I'd probably be sad at first because I'd just be like, nothing really matters anymore.
Oh, I feel the opposite. I'm Lee. I'm a co-writer, co-director, co-producer. I'm kind of a scaredy cat in life, so I'd probably be like, all right, I'll try paragliding and also jumping out of a plane and all the things I would never do normally.
But then it would quickly become boring because you would do all those things and then you still know you have thousands of years left.
Yeah.
Possibly alone on this dead
He said,
planet.
what's the first thing? Not what is the arc of
Eternal
your-
sadness.
That's it. Okay. So you're crying. Pick up on that theme of crying.
Yeah.
This film picks up on that theme of mental illness. Kind of like, is it kind of like a metaphor where like there's all these dead parts of him that's around him and he has no real way out?
Well, yeah, I think what we were attempting to accomplish was, it was a subject that was close to us. This is a very personal film, as weird and wacky as it is. But we really wanted to use the kind of like surreal elements to just play off of the idea of the complexity of mental illness and how it really affects the mind of the person suffering through it, but those also who are the support structure of those people. And that sometimes, like partnering or being with someone who is suffering through something like that, and you start to become a part of what they're going through. And in our film, it's like we use this kind of weird fantastical rebirth thing as an expression of the issues that he's suffering through, and how the sister just becomes absorbed into that, so it's not really a metaphor as kind of like a way to express possibly how Richie sees the world and how people with mental illness might be suffering with these wild things that are happening to them, and just like, I don't know.
I also think that as I myself have had struggles with depression, and that it can be kind of a cycle, that it sort of can, it'll be a period of your life. Maybe, you work through it, you get help, and then, maybe a few years later you're like, oh, I'm here again. This is it again. And there's a section in the film where he sort of talks about, I have some hope that like maybe this time there's going to be this better version. And you're like, oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
It's just it just keeps being
Yeah.
me.
Well, I mean, the dicks also applies a little bit to the neighbor as well, right? Because sometimes it's hard for people who don't have the illness, right, to kind of deal with the people, and they lose patience, or like
Yep.
you're doing this again. It's like a child having a tantrum, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this
And-
again? Like, I thought you were like quote
course.
unquote better or cured or.
And just as you have, if you don't choose to have diabetes, but you have a responsibility to take your insulin. You don't choose to have your mental illness, and there is a component of sometimes some of the stuff we say or do, or we are not thinking of how it may be affecting our loved ones or our neighbors or whatever, that we also have the fallout and the shame kind of that as well. If that
Yeah,
makes any
because it's
sense.
like you feel like you're broken or not normal or whatever the term is, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking if it's a metaphor, because like Richie realized like what's happening in his apartment is not normal.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time, I guess, that someone is able to understand what he's going through because it's physically manifesting itself. But once again, the way we talk about the film sometimes is it actually happening? What is really going on in the apartment? There are many ways you could interpret it differently. And so I think it's when people come and see us after the film, a lot of people have ideas of what we're trying to say or why we chose, an asshole or vagina on a
Yeah.
wall, which we termed the vaginus during production.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like what that really signifies, and the idea of birth, what that signifies. But for us, it was like this was actually kind of meant to be literal, and then we could discuss the reasons behind it or like what we're really trying to say afterwards, because we might succeed or fail at what we're attempting to do, but we'll always have the literal thing of like it's just a hole on a wall that poops out a new person, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah, but also just this idea of, a lot of like dealing with other people's messes, cleaning up his mess. I mean, what, just pushed all the way to the end of that.
yeah, in one day. It's like we've talked about everything that happens to her in this one night might not be what's happening to her in this one night. It actually, this night is her dealing with all of the things that has happened with her and her brother. The multiple times he has attempted suicide, and then the final time he has succeeded. But it's all
No
condensed.
spoilers.
No spoilers. But it's all condensed into this one evening for her.
Correct.
So is it memories? Is it, like factual with the occurrences and stuff like that? So like we really played with the idea that maybe things that happen are so weird because they're not really happening. It's just how people are either perceiving it or remembering it. And so it doesn't always have to have an explanation.
Yeah. In terms of playing, on IMDb, there's some trivia, and it says that Becca is accepted to Con Gerber University.
Yeah.
And is that an anagram of David Cronenberg?
Yes, there's a lot of influences of David Cronenberg in our film. Like even at one point, Richie comes out of the bedroom just wearing boxer shorts and a sports coat, and that's exactly what Jeremy Irons wears in Dead Ringers. And because there's tons of doubling in our film, we actually watched Dead Ringers a lot to try and understand how he pulled off a lot of the doubling effects. And so it had such a huge influence on us and the body horror aspect of it. And so being able to kind of like just sneak little things in about him, we thought would be cute.
And because this is dealing with mental illness, you guys then classify this as a horror film then? Or how does it...
It's sort of genre bending to me. I always called it a black comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always call it a horror film, but we've been told recently that it's actually a science fiction piece. So
Or
or
a drama.
a drama.
It's
Yeah.
kind of-
I think it really goes, it's a part of its genre in all aspects of it, where there are elements of science fiction, there are elements of horror, but deep down it's just a heartfelt drama about a brother and sister who are dealing with this mental illness and the struggles. Yeah, with tons of dick jokes and like, a vaginus on a wall. And so like, I think it's a horror movie because when we were writing the story, I'm just like, it's going to leave the audience feeling very unsettled as to what they just witnessed. And to me, that's what horror movies do. They unsettle you. Now, sometimes they scare you. Sometimes they push boundaries of violence and stuff like that. And our film doesn't do that, but it does leave you unsettled as to what you just witnessed, because perhaps you just witnessed what it is like to not only suffer from mental illness, but love someone who is suffering from it.
Or just seen a vaginus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's very unsettling.
Or the horror of having a horrible name.
Yeah, exactly. Lee often jokes about the sequel being just from Matt's perspective. We
Yeah.
just like replay the whole night from his perspective, and he becomes the hero.
All right, there you go. So there's some possibilities. You guys are married, so how does that work in terms of directing?
Well, I think a lot of people, to be frank, were quite nervous when they came on board. Already two directors, is how's that going to work? And also that we've been married for like almost a decade, and then was there going to be like a lovers' quarrel on set? But we find that we work best as a couple when we have a project together. So we're very much in sync on the day, and we got some very good advice from some filmmakers who work in duos.
Yeah, and so we called up a friend of ours in Montreal. There's a group called RKSS, and it's 3 people who have been directing films together for probably a decade as well. And we were like, how do you divide it on set? And they just told us what they did, and we just tried to emulate that. And so Lee spent a lot of time with the actors. I spent a lot more time with the camera department and the crew. And then we would always just like come together, discuss something, and then split and try and attack it from 2 sides. And it ended up allowing us to make this movie in 10 days, even though it had a lot of intense visual effects because of the doubling, some stunts, some weird practical effects, but we blasted through 10 to 11 pages a day. And
I came to at the end, because it was my first time directing, that I thought, how on earth does anybody do this by themselves? It's like such a huge job that I was so glad there were 2 of us.
yeah, we were on 2 different levels too, because we were shooting in this apartment building where we had the main apartment upstairs, and downstairs there was a fully gutted apartment, and that's where we held the cast and the crew. And then we built some fake sets to like do the coming out of the wall and this other stuff. And so sometimes I'd be downstairs helping plan something else while Lee was upstairs directing, or she would be downstairs planning something where I was upstairs and directing. So we were able to really get a lot more accomplished because there was 2 of us.
Right. Which again is, I guess, the theme of the movie, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so where can people find you online to see Dead Dicks?
Oh, right now, Dead Dicks is still just doing the festival tour. Right after this, we're going to be going down to Austin for the U.S. premiere. Yeah, Other Worlds Film
That's a great
Festival. Yeah. Yeah, and then from there, we're going to San Francisco for Another Hole in the Head. And it played in Helsinki just a few days ago, and then it was in Leeds, and I was in Lausanne, Switzerland, and then the 2 of us were in Manchester. So it's been touring around the world, and we've been really feeling very lucky about the response from the audience. But
we just signed with a sales agent,
Yep.
Devilworks from the UK, who specializes in a lot of sort of smallish indie genre films. So we're hopeful that they know better than us like how to kind of push this thing
yeah,
forward.
and then maybe soon we'll learn about where it might be coming out, whether on VOD or streaming services or physical media. Haha. But yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Thanks you for the movie.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're having fun at Blood in the Snow. You mentioned some of the other film festivals you're going to. You're having fun at the Blood in the Snow so far?
Yeah, Blood in the Snow has a real special place in our hearts because I've been coming to this festival for about 6 or 7 years. I had a short that I produced and wrote in 2012, I think, called Never Tear Us Apart, that screened here. And then a few years ago, we were here with Even the Darkness Has Arms. And Kirk and Kelly have been super supportive of us. And every time they come
And
to
Jen.
Montreal, we hang out. And so I've always been talking about this festival, about how supportive it is of filmmakers, whether you do shorts, features, now web series and stuff like that, and how they bring all filmmakers together on the same level. And it's just kind of very welcoming to kind of be treated that way,
I also think just like really having the guts to be like, it's all Canadian.
Yeah.
Like that is to me really something. Genre film, it has a huge place in Canadian film history, and I just think it's a wonderful festival. I
Yep.
can't say enough about it.
Yep.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Sam.
Yeah. No, thank you. Merci.
Yeah.
Thank you. Merci.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that was Dead Dicks. Please check that out. Another movie doing the festival circuit is Majic, spelled M-A-J-I-C, Magic. And it is magic. This is my jam. If you're into alternative and speculative stories, the current Man in High Castle, where the Allies lost World War II and the Nazis won, it's incredible, and it's on Amazon Prime as we speak, then you'll dig Magic. The basic premise is this. An anti-conspiracy vlogger, I guess, thinks she is slipping into an alternative reality after being approached by an old man claiming to have worked on the legendary Majestic 12, aka Majic, the covert U.S. spy agency created after the UFO incident at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Classical Roswell. So I know, for all these speculative movies to work, you have to provide a disturbing alternative reality, like in the Watchmen comic books where President Nixon has served 4 terms. And Majic delivers not only a solid alternative reality, but the ending is Twilight Zone worthy and not just outstanding. Smuggle in a cup of tea if you can when you watch this one. You'll need it to sort through all the different threads. For Majic, I talked to Paula Brancati, who you might have seen in Slasher or Being Erica, and Erin Berry, the director, who I so wanted to hug, but I kept it professional. We'll never get credit for the things we didn't do, you know? Here's my interview with both of them. Okay, so welcome to Blood in the Snow. How's it going so far?
Thanks.
Great. Fantastic.
Very warm welcome, even though it's a snow title. Oh, bad, guys. I need a second coffee.
Yes. So give us a breakdown of the film.
I have to take that one.
Well, what's it about? You wrote
Synopsis. My log line.
I'll riff on it.
Okay. The film takes place in 2008. Paula, who is the much nicer voice that you're listening is Burnwood, who is a skeptical vlogger. She's just on this new platform called YouTube, which has just emerged. And she basically creates videos that debunk various conspiracy theories that are, at their infancy within the internet at that time. In the first scene, she meets an old man who claims that he was part of Magic or Majestic 12 or the Men in Black, like the Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones movies. And at first she doesn't believe him, but then starts to find evidence that maybe what he was selling is true, and sort of goes down a weird rabbit hole where she starts to question her own skepticism.
So was this inspired by like Twilight Zone or Coast to Coast or what?
I think obviously there's an X-Files influence there. I was a big fan of the original series back in the 90s, and that sort of was this formulation for the character Burnwood that Paula plays was sort of envisioning her as sort of a young Dana Scully. She's a young skeptic who doesn't believe all the nonsense that that is out there. She's the anti-Mulder, but then sort of becomes that character, becomes the opposite of that when she starts to believe in some of the things that start happening to her.
Yeah. And what about for you? How did this come into your life?
Aaron and I were buddies because we worked on Slasher for Netflix for the last couple of seasons, and he told me he had this script and that the role of Pippa was originally written for a middle-aged man. And it's funny, we didn't have to do much to switch it, which I think is a really interesting exercise. I actually heard, I believe it was Sandra Bullock said the same thing about Gravity, that it was written originally for a man. And when they flipped it for her, there weren't many changes that had to be had, but inherently there was a different lens that you were seeing this story through. So that really interested me. And certainly getting to talk with Erin through the development process about the script, the character, the casting. I was really delighted to get to work with Deb McGrath, who I'd been a fan of for so long, with Mike Cedar, who's one of my best friends. So all those things really appealed to me. And I'd never really worked in the genre before. So, getting into the X-Files reference and getting to kind of dive deep into a kind of character that I'd never done was exciting. And also someone who wasn't in any way a romantic love interest, that sort of wasn't sexualized. That really appealed to me at this point in my career.
Yeah. So introduce yourselves and tell me if you believe in aliens or not.
Well, I'm Paula Brancati, and I had a UFO believer club when I was in grade 4, and I was convinced they were flying around in my window. I actually also read something that they came out of the sewers. I was trying to get people on board. No one believed me, and then I kind of I gave it up. I retired. So I guess I would say I'm a believe-ish.
My name is Erin Berry. I'm the co-writer and director of Magic. I'm definitely not a believer, although I have to say, and this is weird, when I saw E.T. as a kid, and I probably was like 12 years old, it scared the crap out of me, and I was actually, I was having nightmares actually
Really?
for about a week, convinced that aliens were going to come, and they weren't going to be nice and friendly M&M eating. They were going to eat me, and I don't know, that the movie somehow traumatized me. I watch it now, and I go like, how is this traumatizing? I think Yeah, I don't know. But not a believer now that I'm an adult and I no longer sleep with the light on. Since I turned 30, I don't believe that aliens are coming out to get me. I don't believe it exists.
Okay, fair enough. A couple of the things that you guys reference in the movie, like the JFK assassination, the Roswell incident, are these kind of gateway conspiracy theories? Like, if you start to go down this road, did they slide into the other?
Yes,
I found that they did.
Yeah, a
in
lot of.
researching.
We built a lot of the script based on real conspiracies. So
Yeah.
we're taking things that are out there in the ether of conspiracy lore and sort of played with them. The whole idea of the Greys aliens and the reptilians. This is all part of UFO conspiracy lore. But there's a lot of factual stuff in there as well. Like I was just talking about he talks about Anderson's character, how he was part of manned orbiting laboratory, which was a real thing, that the Air Force was going to use Gemini spy capsules and create a space station and spy on the Soviets. That was all real. Most people don't know that sort of history of NASA and aerospace, but so there's a lot of factual stuff mixed in with sort of the fantastical stuff that we can do with. So.
And for you, Paula, the scenes with Fishburne, the chess scenes,
Yeah.
did that kind of bring you back to your UFO club and just kind of having those discussions?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because not only did I have a UFO club, but I was also in the chess club. I was kicked out in grade 4 as well for cheating. I tried to help I didn't know I was cheating, but I tried to help the other school win, and I knew a four-move checkmate. So also,
All the chess in the movie's real then?
well, to Simon's show at our DP's dismay, he was freaking out because it wasn't quite lining up every take. And
it was actually his chess set that I had taken the week before, and he was actually upset because he's trying to teach his 5-year-old to play chess, and he's like, I need my chess set back. And I was like, well, we're shooting the scene. So he was the one that was sort of arranging, like, the
Thank
actual final
God.
was his. He set up the movie. He was like, we'll do this.
He did, which was good.
He was a bit of a prodigy when he was younger, so he took his chess very seriously.
I wasn't making him proud, but I will say those scenes are some of the most fun because I think having a prop sort of between them gives something else to focus on for them, and it also just speaks to how off the cuff this kind of conversation is for her. And I really love her friendship with Fishburne and with Truxpor in the movie because she sort of is an oddball and doesn't quite know how to connect on a really tender level with people, but she likes to connect on information she super gets off on.
Yeah,
so,
and even though I've written and directed the film and seen it so many times, the second scene where she goes back to Fishburne is still my favorite scene in the whole film.
I love that scene too. Thanks, man. Anand was really fired up, and
I love that scene so much. Every time, that's the only part of it I really like. Oh, I'm depressed. I'll just watch that scene and I'll feel better about myself.
Well, it's interesting because it's got the dichotomy, right? Because he's playing chess, so he's a certain level of intelligence.
that's right.
But then the stuff he says, we're like, how does that square?
That's what's so interesting about. I think all the characters are so interesting in the
Her
movie.
friend, so she goes to him whenever this sort of conspiracy wants the inside of the.
Totally. Yeah.
Where can people find this online now if they want to see it, or what's the?
Still waiting. I have a sales agent in place, and we're hoping that we'll be on some VOD platform in 2020. But at this point, if you happen to be in Berlin Friday, November 29th, it will screen.
And Paula, you mentioned slasher. For people that don't know,
Yeah.
give us a breakdown of the show.
Absolutely. It was created by our good friend Erin Martin, who I worked with on Being Erica, and it's a standalone anthology show. Each season is about a different murderer, and I had the pleasure of being in 2 seasons, so much like American Crime Story or American Horror Story. Well, yeah, both do that, where like bring back the same company of actors sometimes, and we get to play very different characters. So season 3, 2, and 1 are all on Netflix right now, and they're super gory, and it's another genre I never got to work in before then. But when you have friends that imagine characters for you, like Erin Berry and Erin Martin, they see things for you that you didn't quite see for yourself. So that's been a real pleasure to be a part of the last couple of years.
Is this something you want to kind of continue doing more genre stuff? Because even Being Erica is kind
Yeah.
of like a weird.
Thanks for
It
saying
is
that.
sci-fi.
It is sci-fi. It's
Totally.
like rom-com sci-fi I found, and I do because I really enjoy how niche it is. I also think the fans are so passionate about it, and it's exciting to work in. I think also for the thing I mentioned, in that I think we see a lot of women. I mean, Orphan Black is another show, obviously, that I love so much, and I think you have the opportunity there to see so many female characters that aren't only servicing the story as love interest. There might be love and romance, but you get to see so many other colors. So for as long as the genre will have me, I would be delighted to work in it. Yeah.
And just last question. Are you hoping that like people, when they walk away from this movie, do they kind of know which reality he's in, or you?
I mean, I think the ending is somewhat vague and obtuse, but I think that's part of it. I like films that kind of resonate after you leave the theater, where you're still thinking about it and going. And even I've had people think they go back and they're like, they want to know if like, there's a consistency with the pen, which is an element in the film, and I think that's what makes for a good film. Yeah. Anyway, when I go and I'm thinking about the movie long after it's over, as opposed to that's over, and there's movies that I forget about within 5 minutes, and hopefully my film isn't going to be one of them. So.
Yeah, is this possibly a world that you want to return back to, like a sequel, or?
We've talked about it.
Originally, it was developed as a TV pilot, and certainly that's something that instead of a sequel, I mean, I could see it. You could enlarge this world, and it could become a TV series, and that's something certainly I would be, and I know Paula would be interested in doing as well. Because there's more that we can do, and there's other ideas we have sort of within the series that we know we can explore, and beyond the ending of the film, there's sort of ideas in our head as to where it would go beyond that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that was my Media Day Adventures at Blood in the Snow for 2019. Thanks to Jen, Kelly, Kirk, and Carolyn for always being so warm and welcome. It's not easy to organize a film festival, but it is always fun. They did such a good job this year. The lineup is fantastic. Sorry to you, the listener, if the sound wasn't as crisp. It's the hazards of being out of the Girth Radio HQ and being on the road. You can follow my adventures on the road and often off the road, down with pants, at My Pal Sammy for Instagram, My Pal Sammy for Twitter, and My Pal Sammy for Facebook. I'm Sam Younan, and this has been my summer lair. Blood in the Snow, yo.